Hey everyone, so some extended family of mine just got this 2024 Honda Prologue, aka Chevy Blazer EV, and wants to move their dash cam from their old car to this one. So let's get into it. Now, since the Prologue is really a Chevy product, I don't think the fuse boxes are going to be in the typical Honda location. So I've gone in the glove compartment, pulled out the manual, looked in the index, and it says fuses, page 245, so we'll go there. And then we'll flip till we find the interior fuse box. So this is the engine compartment, and here we go. So looks like it's right here next to the glove compartment. So let's remove this door edge molding, and you can quickly just grab inside and pull down. This one's pretty stiff because it's brand new. There we go. And we'll continue pulling that trim off all the way down and around the sill. Next, we need to remove this panel, and we'll use some pry tools to get in the gap here and release whatever clips are in there. Probably should turn it this way. There's one. And so if we look at this piece, there's actually 4 clips. I'm kind of surprised these other 2 released, just prying these 2 out. Next, we'll remove this panel, and there's a catch over here that you have to pull outwards and around the inner part. And then there's also clips. So let's see if we can start from the bottom here. Just get these. Yep, you just pull on it, and then here's the part where we pull this out and around this slot here, and then the panel just comes out. And then you can see right here we've got our fuse box. Now, when figuring out where to place the camera on the windshield, even though we're doing a hardwired dash cam, I always like to plug the 12-volt adapter in and power the camera that way, so I can hold it up and see what's going on with before I do all the hardwire. So we've got that together. Turn on the car, give it power. So generally, I like to place the dash cam in this area, so it's not in the driver's view at all. And then it's just a matter of coming up around here, around this kind of central piece. There's kind of a little gap here. That's kind of well, that's GM build quality for you. This cover, brand new, wasn't even fully clipped in. Anyhow, if I place the camera all the way up here at the top, it's capturing a little bit of this corner down here. So I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to figure out, move this down probably about here, basically about to the back is midway down this black plastic piece, and that way I have a full view across the entire windshield and hood, and there's no obstructions in the picture at all. And one more thing you need to think about when placing this is, will you be able to remove the camera? Because like on this mount, the lock actually slides, where the camera slides outwards away from this center piece to undock, which you would need if you wanted to remove the SD card. But other cameras, they might shift over from the left to the right, in which case you need to make sure you have enough clearance, to this center piece to do that. But on this guy, we are okay. Now, to mount this to the actual windshield, I like using these static cling sheets, because then it prevents any of this, double-sided tape residue from getting on the glass. Usually they come in sheets that are a bit more than double this size. I cut this one because, frankly, these are just a lot bigger than you need, and if you, cut it, then, well, you can use that many more pieces on that many more cameras. So what I'll do is I'll first put the sheet on the windshield kind of like this, and then we will go and stick the camera to it. So we'll apply the sheet, squeegeeing out any air bubbles. Then we'll remove the second backer. Make sure that's seated nicely. Next, I can remove the backer on the double-sided tape on the camera. This one actually has 2. This white piece is another one. And then we can stick it to the sheets. So since this is an SUV with a pretty long run path going all the way, to the door jamb, down to the floor, and all the way to the back of the car, I am going to use this longer 8-meter rear camera cable that VFO has for this A129. The stock 6-meter one will probably work if I routed it only along the headliner, but with the sunroof and the side curtain airbags, I'd rather just do it along the floor. Next, we want to release the A-pillar cover, and to do that, you'll put your fingers here and probably some over here and just kind of pry until the clips snap and pop out. Now, I already did that beforehand, but it's a little bit more violent than that, but nothing to worry about. And when you do that, you'll see this kind of looks like a hair tie, really, this little bungee that holds this A-pillar cover, from really blowing all the way out and becoming fully disconnected. And you'll notice you have a clip up here and another clip down there. So those are what you're trying to pop out or unlatch when you release this. So now we'll take the cables for the power hardwire and the rear camera, and we can put that up and over the airbag. And you have to do this a little bit further forward down the A-pillar because the airbag is secured kind of in this area right here, so you won't really be able to get up into the headliner very easily. We're going to have to go forward and then come back around up over it. Now we can run the wires and just pull them all the way through, connect to the dash cam, and then we can stuff the wire into the headliner. There's a pretty nice gap on this one, so I don't even need like a pry tool to get under it. Just on these up here and inside. And then I'll also just put like one of these cable clips up here so we can keep things nice and tidy. So next we'll run these wires down the A-pillar and snaked behind this plastic trim over here. One of the things you might consider is taking some tape, like cloth tape or masking tape to secure it so you don't have just a bunch of loose wire around here. Next I want to take the hardwire module and snake this in here. There's enough of a gap between the plastic housing and this metal frame part, but there's a screw down here you can undo too if you decide you want even more clearance. Don't really think you need it though. Alright, so now we've got our look at the fuse box, and one of the things I do like about this GM fuse box is they put a little plus sign like at the end of each bank, so you know which side of the fuse is powered, whether it's the left or the right. So on this bank here, it's going to be the left side, or the side towards the center of the car, and on this right bank over here, it's going to be on the right side or towards the outside of the car. And looking at these, which ones are powered all the time, which ones are not, which ones are just accessory on. In this first bank over here, for these micro fuses, almost all of them are powered on all the time. These other two over here, the 20 and 10 amp, are also accessory on only. So here you can see I've got what a fuse tap looks like. It plugs into the fuse slot, and then it has a slot on the bottom, and on the top. On the top it goes to this tap that we have to connect the hardwire to. And then the bottom one, you would just take the fuse that's in there now and plug that in here so that it continues doing what it already does without the tap. Now I'll take the end of the hardwire lead and I'll put it inside the fuse tap crimp connection. Hold that there. And then I will use a pair of crimpers and crimp that. If you don't have crimpers, you can use a pair of channel locks. That works pretty well. And then do the same for the other lead. And then we can plug our fuse taps into the fuse box. And then for the ground, there's a 7mm screw in there that you can loosen and then attach the ground wire to. Okay, so what I actually ended up doing is I ended up using that F35 and this F3 fuse. This F3, this is the 20 amp fuse to the cargo area power outlet. And if you're looking at the fuse tab saying, well, wait, isn't the powered side on the outside? It is, but for clearance reasons, I obviously couldn't do that since the fuses stick out here. So it just means that the accessory, current draw to the camera to tell it that, the power is actually on or the car is on, is in addition to that 20 amp load, but that's so minuscule it really shouldn't do anything. And then, we have this constant power on the 15 amp fuse for the headlight modules. Now for this VFO hardwire module, it has settings to do auto shut off if the battery gets too low. I usually set these to the highest voltage, which here would be 12.4 volts. Right, we don't want to run that battery down. And then off to the side in this void, we've just stuffed the rest of this excess wiring. And you can bundle that up however you like. Now we'll continue routing the rear camera wire down through this area. And the trim here, there's a clip right here. So we'll just pull that out. You can see that clip, and it just pulls straight towards the rear of the car. Now for this lower trim piece, it's just like most cars. There's clips underneath here. You just got to get your fingers underneath and pull upwards. And that'll give us all of the room we need to take the rear camera wire and run it along this wire harness that already goes towards the rear. So you can do that and then wrap some tape around it to secure it to this guy. And then when we get to the rear section with the B-pillar trim piece, we're going to take that wire and wrap it underneath the B-pillar side and underneath this edge of the door jamb trim. And then we can secure it here with a piece of tape to the wiring harness. Now we can feed that wire back to the back seat. And then if we move the seat all the way forward, it'll give us plenty of room to get our fingers underneath and tuck this wire underneath the plastic B-pillar trim. Now let's re-secure this bottom trim piece to the sill. Once again, you can see the various clips on it, right? These little red guys, 3 on the bottom, and then this 4th one over in front, and they will just lock into these type of slots here. So, get this in place. Let's put our fuse panel cover back. Line the clips at the bottom. Sure the side one feels latched. Yep. And then we can do the side panel. Once again, it's just a matter of lining up the clips with their slots. Get this out of the way. And now that we're done in this area, let's refasten the A-pillar trim. So first you have to get it aligned in the slot here. And then it's just a matter of lining up those clips and resecuring them. Now we can put the door edge trim back in. And then we can continue with the edge trim. And along the bottom. Now on the back, we'll continue running that wire underneath this B-pillar trim. And then for this trim in the midsill, it's a matter of pulling up again. There's not really good area. Right here, there's a nice gap you can get your fingers in. Pop that up. Once again, we have our clips there. Actually, that's some interesting, more GM build quality. There's a friction clip here, clip there. There's supposed to be a clip here, but there isn't, and there isn't one left in the slot here, which means it was just never installed. I'm going to start removing this door sill trim as well and working my way up the rear door sill. And now we can just run our rear camera wire in this gap all the way up. Next, I'm going to refasten this bottom edge trim so I can put this sill piece back in, and remember, align the clips with the slots. Hopefully yours has all of the clips, unlike this one. I'm going to lower the seat back so I can have more room working along some of these trim areas. What I want to do is I want to route this camera cable through this trim going to the back and then go up here into the headliner. So you can see if you just get your pry tool in there and work your way across, there's a series of these little clips that you just pop out, and then they like provide standoff all on their own, and that'll let you snake the wire through. So when we run the wires up to here where there's this break in the panels, and you can see the seat belt, you can see what I've done is I put a piece of tape here to secure the wire going to the rear camera behind the seat belt. And if you don't do this, then the seat belt is probably just going to be rubbing against whatever wire you route back here. So definitely, secure it back here to run behind the seat belt so we don't have any issues with that abrasion. And you'll do that by prying off this panel and reaching your hand in here and, routing the wire and so forth. So there's a decent amount of room with how much this thing flexes to get the wire back behind there. Get this wire up over these little tabs. And geez, what is this? Loose thread? More GM build quality. Now that the wire's out over here, I will resecure all the little clips on the bottom here. There's no real snap, they just kind of index into a slot. So, and you can take your pry tool and pretty much just push them up till they slide in there. So when we're resecuring this piece, it's important to make sure that this is indexed within the metal over here. A lot of times you can get the clips indexed properly, but if this isn't over that metal, then obviously it's going to be blocked from getting all the way in. And to help you get that indexed over, you can use a pick to go behind here and pry the plastic up so that everything lines up and can be snapped back into place. Now let's finish up the rear door area by putting the weather stripping all the way back up the door jamb. When we get to this transition between the pillar trim piece and the headliner, peel back the edge trim and make sure that the wire goes on the top of the headliner. And then we can reset this edge trim. Next, we're going to run the rear camera wire all the way through the headliner to the other side, the driver's side. And if you need to pull up the molding, the edge trim to do that, go ahead. Just get this in the headliner all the way across. So after we've run our cable across the trunk headliner to the side where this pass-through conduit is, if you look under here, there's this little toothed clip, and that's just what holds the headliner up. You can just put your fingers close to it and push down. I mean, I've already loosened it up here, but it doesn't take too much force. Just apply a slow, constant force till this thing comes out, and that'll give you all the room you need to then maneuver the wire in here to work the conduit. For this upper panel here, this is really easy. You just grab behind here, pull out to release the little catch that adjoins it to the panel next to it, and you just pull all the way out. And then on the other side, same thing, you just got to reach around and unlatch it from the panel next. All right, let's talk about how to release these conduit pieces. So as you can see, they've got 4 clips, 2 on each side, and this will be snapped into the body. And you really only need to release 2 of the clips on one side. So if this was here, I'd release these 2 clips. That'll allow you to pry this down and then pull the other 2 out. So when this is clipped into the body, you can either use a flathead screwdriver, or I just used a pick, and I went in from up top to push these clips in. So I started with this right side, pushed it in while pulling down on the conduit so it wouldn't relatch. So that released this one like that. Then I reached up the left side, did the other one, popped it down here, and then I was able to pull it out. And it's similar with the lower part of the conduit as well. This one, obviously, you're working from the underside, coming up from down here, and it was easier to release the 2 clips towards the inside of the car with my pick rather than the outer 2 clips. So you know, not too bad. Release 2 clips on one side, and then the whole thing should be able to come out. Now I'm going to feed this wire up through the hole that the release conduit went through. Get the wire on the right side, and then you can see with the conduit I've taken this longer screwdriver, poked it through the other side, and what I'm going to do is take this wire, fold it in half like that because it feeds a little bit easier going through the conduit. I'm going to duct tape it to the end of the screwdriver here so I can pull it through the conduit. All right, we are all taped up over here. Let's try and see if we can pull this through. Ta-da! Perfect. Now that our wire is all the way through, I am going to actually put this panel back to see if there's going to be any conflict with how this wire is or how the rear camera placement is. I think this one is okay because there's this good bit of space between where the window actually is and where the wire is, but on some other cars, if you just place the camera you know, right up against the glass, you'll run into a clearance issue with this panel. So we'll put this back. And if we look here, right, this is a straight cable, meaning, you know, there's not really good flex. And yeah, just barely, you know, where the glass starts, I can tape the camera there. Otherwise, if I tried to go any closer, the connector wouldn't let me. So, you know, this is why you want to put this panel on, or any of the panels really close to where the connectors may be, so you can understand if you have a clearance issue. So now that I understand where this is, you know, roughly, let's say, roughly half an inch, or, you know, 3/8 to a half an inch away from where these dotted, these thermal dots end, that's where I'll stick my camera, except nicely centered. So now the camera is in place. I'm going to tape the camera wire to this wire harness assembly. Then I can pull the wire down here, make sure it's taut, and then pull it through the other end of the conduit, make sure that is taut. Then we can replace this panel to one side and clip it into place. Yeah, I'm gonna hide this tag, make it look a little bit cleaner. See if I can do this with just my trim tool. There we go. Next, we can resecure our conduit. First, the top one. Press it until it clicks. Then same with the bottom one. Press it until it clicks. So now we've got this extra wire, which I resecured with its twisty tie, and we can just tuck it in the headliner here. This will stay nice and put. And then I'll index these clips again, one over here if you decide to undo it like I did. Get those re-index and just make sure the wire's actually tucked in there, and push those in till they don't ratchet anymore. And then we can re-secure this weather stripping, push it down on the ridge if you popped it out, and then obviously pull it out so it stays over the headliner.
And with that, there's your Honda Prologue or Chevy Blazer EV dual channel dash cam install.